Hello everyone and welcome to Gierok Farms. In today's video we are going to do some aerating. We are going to break out that RanchWorx Aerator, and the tractor I'm going to use here is the Magnum, the 7120. So we're going to get this thing fired up. We're going to head over to some of my crop ground, hook onto that aerator and put in some work. So thank you all for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get things started here and I'll explain as we go along. She started up flawlessly. We're going to take our time here on the road, let her warm up nice and good. We do have a decent amount of road travel today, more than normal if we were just working here on the home farm. If you haven't seen the other videos, we have all of the crops off the field. All of my corn is harvested, all of Dad's corn is harvested, obviously all the hay for the year, even the bedding. We have all of the bedding off the field, so that is a really good feeling. All of the cover crop has established really well. The pastures, there's still some grass out there. Dad has started grazing some of his hay fields that he plans on rotating into corn next year. So all in all, we're sitting really good, we're feeling really good. Dad, he talked about doing some fall tillage on some of his bottoms that didn't get the cover crop, and today I'm doing some aerating. So we have all of the super important stuff done. It's more or less all of the nice to do stuff in preparation for next year, which is a great spot to be in. It's a good feeling. Okay, we made it out to my row crop acres here. We're gonna use this aerator on some of my headlands here, or some spots where I think I might be having some compaction issues, or I just want to stay ahead of it too, some of that. But I also want to do some test strips on some corn stalks. Last year, for those of you that follow along, know that I used the older model that I had last year on a demo. I used it on some corn stalks and I was super impressed. This year, I shredded all my stalks over here, and I'd like to use this also on some of these fields and do some check strips and see what that combination does, if it makes a huge difference, because this will also shred up some of them stalks a bit more and chop them a bit finer and break up those root balls, or those big support roots at the bottom of the corn stalk plant. This should chop that up and make an even more exciting seed bed. My plan is for next spring to do very little tillage, especially on this farm, and try to do mainly no-till, and this aerator right here is gonna hopefully help me with that. I think the only field that I'll do some tillage on is this corn on sod piece, because that's gonna be corn on corn next year, and there are some spots in there where compaction was an issue, so I think the combination with the aerator and then a little spring tillage will work out quite nicely. So I'm excited to see here. Main agenda is hit those headland rows and those ends where I'm turning around a lot, or high traffic areas, and then also to do some test strips out here on both the corn stalks and some bean stubble spots, and see if we see any differences next year. So anyways, you guys hang out on the aerator and let me know how it's doing. can't get over how fun this thing is to use, especially in a row crop scenario. I think RanchWorx, they do a really good job at marketing to the cattle guys or the guys with pasture and livestock, but I think they're missing a market here. I think, especially if we see some long-term yield gains from this, I love this thing in a row crop scenario, especially in an area like this where no-till is super beneficial. And I might be kind of nerdy, but I listen to a lot of agronomy talk and podcasts and things like that, and I know aerating is something that a lot of guys are looking into and trying to get away from, you know, these big rippers, you know, trying to break up that compaction layer and finding ways to improve yield and cut costs. And this could be one of those options, but we'll keep running some trials with it and see what we think. But I know for sure when it comes to residue management, it's definitely beneficial. Anyways, we better keep working here. Been cruising right along. We've been getting a lot done. Like I said, I've been just playing around with headlands and stuff like that. I'm still kind of deciding where exactly to put in those check strips or what pieces to do entirely. But I wanted to mention, you know, it was nice driving by to do a little brush management with this thing as well. I really like using it for that. I noticed on the brush I cleared with it last year, even though I didn't plant all of it, it definitely encouraged more like native grasses or just grasses in general to come back rather than these big broadleaf weeds and not the most appealing plants that for sure rob a lot of nutrients. So even in that scenario, the way it lays with the field, it's not a very big chunk to where right now it would ever become part of the field. Maybe in a couple years from now, clear some trees along that edge or something. You just kind of started the process of turning that back into a field, and you can tell it used to be, but the weeds just got a hold of it. the GPS fired up too. Once I get on one of those fields that I want to do the whole thing of, or a bigger check strip, we're gonna try that out. Put that thing to work. Got the auto steer going, trying to play with some of the settings here now that we're moving a lot faster. The last setting I had it on was for planting, and that was, you know, around that 4 mile an hour. So coefficients were a little different than traveling. We're probably averaging 7. You know, faster the better though when it comes to this machine is what I found. I've noticed that if you leave her in the ground and back up, it's definitely way more of like a tillage effect. So if you have a couple corners or something that you think need it, backing up with this, it kind of scoops it versus slices. It's another tool in the toolbox in my opinion. They're on our auto steer line and then put the hammer down. Okay, I have covered all the acres that I want to with this aerator for the fall. Very happy with how the tractor handled it. This field that I was on last year, the corn on corn piece planned for next year, I left a test strip right in the middle, probably maybe like 4 or 5 passes wide. But before I put this away, I wanted to show you guys kind of what it's doing out here, give you a bit of a comparison. So on soybeans here, you can kind of see what the one pass looks like. Really not, you know, affecting too much trash because there isn't a lot of trash there. We're getting that slicing effect, that hard, fast impact, and hopefully that eliminates some compaction. I tried to do it on all of the headland passes or any spots where I seen some heavy compaction, and then I also did it in between the contour strips here as a way to kind of level out that furrow. That's pretty common with repeated contour fields like this, where you get a big furrow in between the 2 contours, and I don't want that. Also, I'm interested to see if that affects the weed control there. We got some plans for next year with that 4-wheeler sprayer. I'm gonna get out there earlier and maybe a different mix and hit some of them places twice because I don't like the way that looks. But anyways, back to the aeration here. On the bean stubble here, where I hit it twice or at an angle, that looks really cool. That really stirred some things up, that's for sure. After freezing and thawing, my hope is that this mellows out nice, and especially on the bean stubble here, I think it will. And I should be able to plant right into this and not have to do any tillage and keep this a very no-till system. But I do like how we still do get a little bit of residue incorporation and some more chopping versus what the combine did, or what, you know, going through the combine did to the bean stubble. Not only will we be improving the residue management and eliminating or reducing compaction on our headlands, hopefully, but it'll be interesting to see. Now we'll kind of have test strips all over to see if it impacts yield at all. Fingers crossed, you know, justify being out here. It's got to financially make sense. So we'll be keeping you updated on that. And now for something that you would have seen last year, but a little different. So this is what it looks like on ground that has been shredded and then aerated over. I noticed that it actually kind of fluffs everything back up again, along with a little bit of the soil getting thrown on top of the stalks when we are going over it with the aerator. Hopefully this helps with residue breakdown a bit more, especially in a no-till situation. Older planter like mine, that's the hard thing, is to go straight no-till with it and not do anything. So hopefully the combination of shredding the stalks and aerating shows us that extra pass or 2 is well worth it. But we'll see. But we still have plenty of residue on top here and didn't disturb a whole lot of soil to where erosion shouldn't be an issue. And my hopes is those little pockets where the aerator impacted the ground will fill up with water, break up that compaction, and then also in the spring with fertilizer, hopefully work a little fertilizer in there too. Here's a side-by-side of just shredder and then shredding with that aerator. So yeah, especially at ground level, you can see it really fluffs up those corn stalks, but we are getting some more chopping. I think we averaged some longer pieces in the stuff that the aerator didn't go over. All testing here. We'll know after a lifetime of farming if certain ideas and practices were worth it. Not everything's going to work the same every year, but that's kind of why I'm doing it now here, starting out and not doing the whole farm completely. I want to see what works and what doesn't work, because time, fuel, equipment, that's all worth something. I'm pretty optimistic that we didn't waste any time out here. You know, even just residue management alone, especially on the corn on corn piece, I know that's going to make a big difference. It's kind of mimicking like a chisel plowed field in a way, where those slices, those are all little pockets for moisture and air and sunlight to get into it. So when we come into spring, the ground will hopefully dry down a little faster. That residue can decompose faster, so on and so forth. We'll see if that translates though when it comes to yield. But anyways, enough of that. We're gonna go get this aerator put away because we got a busy afternoon yet ahead of us. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. It's all free and it helps us out a lot. keep track of what we're doing, reach out on Facebook or Instagram. We love reading those messages. Also, Christmas is right around the corner, so check out GierokFarms.com. Get yourself one of these awesome hats. We also have some sweatshirts, some t-shirts left, so get them while they're there. Get them before the holidays. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time.